Hello, we are broadcasted from in the basement at an undisclosed location. In 1910, the Boy Scouts of America was incorporated, and so began a noble venture to teach boys the foundation needed to grow into civic-minded and useful men. In that same year, 1910, Lonesome George was born. Lonesome George was a male Pinta Island tortoise and the last known individual of his species. In his last years, he was known as the rarest creature in the world. George serves as an important symbol for conservation efforts in the Galapagos Islands and throughout the world. George was first seen on the island of Pinta on November 1st, 1971 by Hungarian malacologist Joseph Vagvolgi. George's home, his island, was devastated when vegetation was devoured by introduced feral goats, and his population had been reduced to a single individual. He was relocated for his own safety to the Charles Darwin Research Station on Santa Cruz Island. It was hoped that more Pinta Island tortoises would be found. No other Pinta Island tortoises were found. As George was in captivity, the Pinta Island tortoise was pronounced functionally extinct. Over the decades, all attempts of maiden Lonesome George had been unsuccessful. This prompted researchers at the Darwin Station to offer a $10,000 reward for a suitable mate. Until January 2001, George was penned with two females of the species Chelonoidis becki from the Wolf Volcano region of Isabella Island in the Galapagos, in the hope his genotype would be retained in any resulting children. This species was then thought to be genetically closest to George's. However, any potential offspring would have been hybrids, not purebreds of the Pinta Island species. In July 2008, George mated with one of his female companions. 13 eggs were collected and placed in incubators. On November 11, 2008, the Charles Darwin Foundation reported 80% of the eggs showed weight loss, characteristic of being inviable. By December 2008, the remaining eggs had failed to hatch, and X-rays showed that they were inviable. On July 23, 2009, exactly 1 year after announcing George had mated, the Galapagos National Island announced one of George's female companions had laid a second clutch of 5 eggs. The park authority expressed its hope for the second clutch of eggs, which it was said were in perfect condition. The eggs were moved to an incubator, but on December 16th, it was announced that the incubation period had ended, and the eggs were inviable, as was a third batch of 6 eggs laid by the other female. Lonesome George died on a fateful June 24th in the year 2012. He had no children. This is the end for all of his kind. What a terrible reality. He tried to be useful but failed to pass his genes on. If he were human, even the Boy Scouts would reject him. And though he tried to reproduce, he could not for the life of him. He could not. Imagine his pain, his torment, his isolation. He is like a lot of us, frustrated and at their wits' end. They cannot find love or are rejected by the opposite sex. This Valentine's Day, I'm here to tell you, George was not a failure. He had no choice but to go extinct.
Why?
Because the environment changed. His example is like that of an incel who was forced by technology and materialism to be left behind in the dating and mating world. He was a boy when a horde of goats came on Spanish ships to his island and ate his kind out of house and home, decimating his kind, much like Tinder decimated incels' chances at romance. Think the 80-20 rule. He was an awkward tortoise, like those people who spend so much time online that now they were awkward in human-to-human interactions. They and their female equivalents are alone. They are our very own Lonely George. They are our very own Lonely George, and on this day, they feel it much more. To all of you, I say don't worry, I will keep you company for a bit. How are you? Lonely? You don't say. Well, you just saved a bunch of money by switching to being single. There you go. Laugh. Rejoice. You are not deficient. You are enough. You are not deficient. You are enough and you will be fine. And know that KM Hemmans understands. If no one else does, how would you understand? Because I too am Lonely George. And so I declare an edict, a proclamation, a statute. On this day, February 14th, shall be named Lonely George Day, in honor of that sweet tortoise who tried and just couldn't get it together. And like George, you too are the rarest creature in the world, my audience.